Welcome back everybody from around the world here at the Intel Extreme Masters for Season 10. We've moved into Open Bracket number 2 after completing Open Bracket number 1. We'll take a quick look at that in a moment, as right now I'm joined by Todd and of course by wannabe Moonglade, aka Pig. I like the classic Moonglade laugh in the background there. Good to have you guys on the desk. We will take a look at Open Bracket number 1. We've completed that now. We have 2 players that have moved through to play in group stages, and unfortunately 1 player, which is Bly, who's going to have to play in the decider match later on against the 3rd place finisher of Open Bracket number 2. As expected, boys, here with the 1st and 2nd place?
I think we can say so, yeah. I mean, maybe Mana was a little bit disappointing, and disappointed most certainly with not making it out of this, but other than that, I don't think there were any surprises there, really. Is there something funny?
Just Moonglade. Pig, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Mana's probably going to be a little bit upset with his performance there, knowing he could have definitely gone through there with some different decisions in the games. I think in the 2nd bracket, though, it's going to be very interesting to see who can work their way through the lower bracket, especially. You know, we've got players like Rhett in there doing well. Of course, uThermal and TLO is what's coming up next, which is going to be the real deciding match, I think.
Yeah, so
these guys are both in hot form.
Yeah, they have. And I mean, you can already see here by the games that we've already played from the Open Bracket number 2 is, I think one of the most surprising results here is that 2nd round game between TLO and Patrick Drogo, where TLO took a 2-0, because I think everybody was really expecting Patrick Drogo just to steamroll over this. So everyone at home, you can see where we are right now. It's in the winner bracket final. So the winner of this next match, TLO versus uThermal, goes through to group play come tomorrow and the following day. Todd, what are your thoughts looking at this bracket so far?
I'm pretty surprised, obviously, at TLO beating T-Drogo. I thought it takes the 3rd Korean in a row to meet T-Drogo to finally beat him in a tournament, but somehow TLO, I guess, did it all by himself, so good on him, I guess. I know he gets a pretty good chance against uThermal that's, I do think maybe will be slightly favored, but TLO has shown good things in the past against her, and remember when he beat Polt, he was right there on that very desk.
It was on that stage. It was a €100 game, that one.
I heard the engraved under the table. TLO was there right after.
Yeah, it was a game that, you know, may not see again, Todd. I think that's one way to look at it. Let's focus now on TLO more specifically. TLO has just spent a week training in the Netherlands in the Team Liquid House, training with all the boys there, and he's played a lot of games. All of them have. I think they were saying it was ranging, I'll be on the slightly optimistic side here, between 40-50 games a day for a week, if not a little bit more than that. And they're all in good form right now. Sad for Mana to go out after saying that, but TLO looking good, feeling good. He's already seen it in the results so far, Pig.
TLO is such a strong player, and he's a sort of specialist player. He's a very solid player, but he's got very special builds. He's got also a great understanding of the game, and I think he knows his opponents, especially in this open bracket, really well. And I think that's probably what we saw happen against Petit Drogo. You know, this is a newer player who's risen to the top, and I think TLO is very smart at dissecting a player's style, figuring out what to do. And historically, he's going to be going up against uThermal. Historically, he's beaten uThermal 3-0, and I think he's going to kind of come in here with a very specific plan, trying to throw the balance off for uThermal, trying to put himself in the driver's seat. I think we're going to see some very fast Mutalisks most of these games.
Well, let's switch our focus to uThermal now.
Wait, 1 second. Do we even need to say it anymore? Drop the C word here on TLO.
Yeah, we will, definitely. At least the casters will one time during this game. But here is uThermal. Of course, for me, he got one of the best names in the scene, Mark Slappy. Still laugh at that one every now and then. 19 years old from the Netherlands. I got you too, Pig. It is a great name.
I love Mark. Mark's a great guy. One of my favorite Terran practice partners back when I was focusing on playing, of course. He's been an up-and-coming Terran player for a while. He's had so many close runs to getting through the round of 32 in WCS, and so many times he comes out in 3rd places in group stages, and it always feels like he could almost get there. And just recently he started to, I think, push to that next level, making it through to round of 16s, really putting himself at the forefront of Dutch StarCraft. And I mean, we've seen the Netherlands go to be probably the 2nd or 3rd top nation in Europe.
Yeah, he's definitely gaining more and more confidence. I feel like every time I'm seeing uThermal play, he's like, this is the time I'm going to do it. This is actually my tournament. And he continues to improve on results. And if he gets through now to the open bracket, out of the open bracket, sorry, this is a great result for him, and hopefully he can continue strong performances in the groups.
Yeah, I think so. It feels like he's one of those guys that's bound to get a great performance at some point, much like T-Drogo. Got one very recently in Finland. He got second place. I feel like uThermal, at some point, it's going to happen to him. So he might be very well in this tournament there.
What do you think uThermal's so good at, though?
Just, I guess, when you play Terran, you know, like, unless you're super cheesy, you're going to be playing standard a lot of the time. I feel like he's pretty solid overall, you know, like macro, micro, scouting, multitask, everything's pretty good. Maybe he doesn't particularly stand out that much in any of those things, but just he's very solid overall. Sadly, though, when he plays against the very best of the very best, he struggles a little bit more. So eventually, I feel like he's maybe going to be able to break through that barrier, and then he's going to do better. In Shenzhen, he played pretty well. He only fell to parting, I think, eventually.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree with you there, Todd, that I think he started off a bit more of an aggressive player, which we often see with the players who end up being the best. They start off a little bit cheesier, but he has started forging his way into that more solid approach. And in the past, we've talked about how sometimes he doesn't quite live up to what we'd expect at tournaments, but he's been getting better and better at that with his confidence. In the past, we'd see a few kind of banged keyboards and the headsets thrown in anger, but more and more recently, we see him sitting there calmly after a loss, and he still looks very intense, very focused, but he kind of gathers himself up much better. Doesn't go on tilt as easily.
Well, how does this shape up between the two of them then? I mean, we are almost close to getting into this one, but how does it shape up between the two of them? You got TLO, who is Mr. C himself, you know, very happy, very smiley, very open-minded on how he plays the game, and uThermal, very determined, very straightforward, very macro-oriented. How does that shape up when they go against each other?
It's going to be tricky to say because I think ZVT, normally we talk about it as a very standard matchup in that players like to kind of go towards the Mutiling Bane. It's a lot about creep spread versus bio. I don't really think of uThermal as a mech player. And I think it comes down to how each player wants to dictate the pace of the aggression. On the Terran side, I think it's, will uThermal invest in any sort of fancy aggression, maybe a Hellbat timing? And on TLO's side, how far is he willing to push his greed? And I think specifically in terms of his recent play, is he going to like rush Mutalisks before Zergling speed? Is he going to do something crazy like that? Because he's been known to do that.
All right, final thoughts here, Todd? Maybe a prediction or two?
Dude, I'm Protoss, so it's a TVZ.
Oh,
I guess I'll randomly roll the dice and
what does it say?
Say that TLO is going to show us some cool builds and somehow win it, even though I think uThermal's the favorite.
Pick.
I'm going to go 2-1 for uThermal. I just think he's been on the rise lately, and while Dario is showing great form, I think uThermal's going to clinch it.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. As excellent as always, and hopefully you continue to do so. It's time to go to the commentary team for the first match of the open bracket number 2. It is going to be uThermal taking on TLO.
Thanks very much, fellas. All right, as we get into this next best of 3, our first map is going to be Coda here. Roddy, me and you have been doing quite a bit of casting recently together.
And it's been so pleasant, James.
It has. It's been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure. And for the next couple of days, I'm sure we're going to have quite a few casts along the way. Going into this, are you favoring your Dutchie?
I am, and that's no surprise because I've been giving him a lot of love lately in public, and that's really not because he's Dutch. I've been very impressed. Like, we casted at Intel Extreme Masters qualifier together, right?
Yep.
The road to Shenzhen, and boy, oh boy, was uThermal good. Like, they're mentioning like a big breakthrough performance, but I kind of feel he's already kind of doing that, man. Like, he's knocking on the door every WCS season. uThermal's the type of player, he doesn't even sweat the qualifiers anymore. He knows that he belongs in Premier League. The real question is, how far is he going to go in Premier League? And Dario defeating Petit Drogo 2-0 in the semi-finals. That's a great result, but I'm still leaning towards my very talented Dutch friend, uThermal.
All right, well, let's get into it. Game number 1, as we have spawned down to the bottom right-hand corner. It is our Blues representing Team Liquid. It is TLO. Having come off the back of that training session that they've had over in the Netherlands. So he's kind of an adopted Dutchie for now.
So many good things come out of Holland, James. You know all about that.
And spawning up to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Terran representing 80 Gaming. It is uThermal, who has come on leaps and bounds ever since I first saw him when it came to the Dutch Netherlands Nationals back in 2012. He looks so much more confident in himself and on the stage, everything.
Yeah, uThermal's definitely not a player that came out of nowhere and suddenly like, wow, this guy is good. It's been just slowly but steady going upwards. Kind of like how Harstem's career went. Harstem also didn't explode all over the scene. It was just kind of slowly but steady. He was getting better and better, and then suddenly absolutely solidified himself as one of the better Protoss players in Europe. map. And right now, the same thing goes for uThermal. Now, before we really jump into the series, I was like, I wonder how many times these two players have run into each other. The statistics are actually quite interesting, so I'm going to channel my inner Red Eye over here. And even though they've had an encounter in 2013 and 2014, which doesn't matter that much, TLO is 3-0 in series against uThermal and 6-1 in maps. And one of those encounters was actually in 2015. So if you go by results of the past, and you could even say that TLO has the edge going into this series. But despite all that, despite all the evidence, and despite the good performance that TLO has had so far today, I am still going with uThermal. And you know, Apollo asked Todd if he felt that uThermal excels at anything, and Todd said, well, he's pretty solid all around, and of course he is, otherwise you won't be as good as uThermal is, but I actually do feel that his micro is something special. Like, I've seen him do sick things. You remember when he was picking up Marines that were under fire of an Oracle? Like, was that even a thing? I didn't even know that you could do that. Like, I thought a Marine would die before you could even pick it up. He picked up a Marine 4, 5, 6 times under a medevac against a single Oracle, and I was just losing. I was like, oh my god, like, you can do that kind of stuff? And also his multitasking, his speed when he starts dropping. Like, if uThermal gets in the right rhythm and he really shows his A game, the guy is fast and his micro is absolute top notch.
It has been good. It has been good. And as you said, that qualifier we cast together, we just saw a fantastic uThermal, and well, he's back once again on the Intel Extreme Masters stage, looking to just look around, have a bit of a poke about here against Mr. Ingenuity himself with TLO, just moving back with those drones and trying to keep them alive.
Yeah, actually already losing quite a bit of mining time. He's not losing a drone, which is of course the most important thing. Ooh, got so close there. But a lot of drones were not mining, and like 2 drones are chasing. Dario, wake up. These are small things that can actually upset you. If I'm right now, he does have these 4 links sneaking across the map, and that could actually be very good. The Marines are not out yet. The Reaper has taken care of 2 or 3 links. Will those links be able to get the kill on the SCV? They should be, yeah. That's 4 links, that's too many. So, okay, TLO lost a lot of mining time, but at least he's delaying this command center for a little bit. And might actually get a cheeky kill over here on the Marine.
Yeah, very, very good control. I mean, it comes back to what you were saying about the micro. Keeps it alive for a long time, but eventually does get cleaned up.
Yeah, most important thing, I don't think he ever pulled the SCV back on, that was building the command. Oh, he did actually. uThermal, wake up. Gotta finish that CC, buddy.
It's a little bit all over the place for both of them at the moment.
Yeah, well, a scrappy opening phase over here. Not really what I expected. Kind of thought that we're going to have a very passive start with neither player really making a mistake. But TLO chasing that Reaper for a little bit too long. Goes back to, you know, one of my ladder games, and I know it doesn't matter because I play on a different level than these guys, and not in the good way for me. On a much lower level.
I was about to say much higher, much higher.
Yeah, it's like, guys, get on my level. One day you can become a commentator too. But if I have my 2 probes chasing a Reaper and I forget about it, and then suddenly I realize that these 2-3 probes have not been mining and 1 probe has been idle next to my simulator, I get a little mad already. Now, I think TLO is too experienced to let that kind of stuff truly get to him, but not what you expect from, in general, a very clean player like TLO.
Well, Bainley has already on the way here for TLO, maybe taking a few precautionary measures against the potential that could come along. uThermal, in the past in this matchup, has shown good tendencies of aggression, very, very strongly executed tendencies of aggression as well, which it's just the usual go-to of Reaper, Hellion, but he has executed pretty good in the past with it.
Yeah, I like that you say it, and I think this is one more reason why the people at home should get as excited about this series as we are, because these are 2 very entertaining players of their respective races. Me, like Letut, is a Protoss player, but if uThermal's playing, I'd always be watching. Dario is also a player that I'll be watching most of the time, because you never really know what he brings to the show, and when these 2 go up against each other, I think it's going to create some very interesting games, and we're going to see some really cool skirmishes. uThermal needs to do something, by the way, with this drop, because Dario has been droning up freely, and of course if you're a 2-base Zerg, you can drone up pretty freely, but he's been taking a 14-15 work elite. Well, now it's only 11, but it was 14 before, which is just a little too much for that phase in the game.
There was no denial of creep from uThermal at the front, so it's not exactly the angle you expect those 4 Hellions to really come in at the very, very beginning of all of this, as that 1 creep tumor eventually will spread out towards that 3rd base.
Interesting. Yeah, he's going to send a couple Zerglings, but there are 4 Hellions over here that are going to try to pick up these Banelings. 1 Baneling does connect with the Hellions, but this is still a good trade for uThermal. And let's not forget, this is a cool opening already, man. 8 Hellions. He's going to maybe unload these 4 Hellions into the main base once more, but Dario is all over this, and the Medevac's taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, good splits off here by Dario. To be able to just shut down both of these angles. Really didn't lose much at all. I mean, yeah, a few main links is an annoying amount of gas, but other than that, he has held on strongly.
Yep, uThermal gets one Viking, kind of like the Poles Viking, but there's only a single Overlord out on the map. So uThermal has to get ready because he knows he's playing against a 2-base Spire build. I'm gonna get those Marines out, gotta get them, maybe even throw up a turret already. I wouldn't mind to see just 2 turrets go up immediately, and maybe even 1 turret above the production, because I think it's hard to read how many Mutalisks he's gonna have to worry about. 4 or 5, yeah, you don't really need a turret on top of your production. But if 8 or 9 Mutalisks fly in, that's when you do want a turret.
This poor little Hellion's got
Wow,
rustled.
okay.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a few more banelings than I was really suspecting. He's luring him to a false sense of insecurity, really, because this is quite a commitment. The bunkers are actually going down here.
Yeah.
uThermal, is he overreacting to this?
Yeah, he is, because TLO is actually just going to back off. There's no way. With that Viking above it, there's no way TLO is going to commit to that. So uThermal right there, pulling those 20 SCVs or so from the mineral patches for a little bit. Small overcommitment, especially when he had 2 bunkers finishing up as well. You know what they say in England, you'd rather be safe than sorry. But sometimes you don't want to be too safe. Living dangerous is pretty fun too, James.
Yeah, gotta cut those corners, gotta advance on forwards. uThermal here at the moment, just getting himself out, a few more medevacs. 10 drones on the way behind this for TLO, so he's really gonna rock it up very fast.
It's a beautiful race. 63 workers already, few more on the way. It's gonna be able to saturate this third base pretty much immediately as soon as it's up. And that's always a very nice feeling for a Zerg player.
Doing okay. He could even land that, actually, wait. For now, he already finds the medevacs over to the right-hand side and denies those for a little while. Tries to get on top of this with just the Zerglings alone, and that's a bit risky there, Dario.
Exactly, kind of a questionable engagement. I think he lost 1 Mutalisk already, might end up losing 1 more. Here we're maybe going to see some of that uThermal micro as he's playing his Marines all over the place. And this is not a good trade, I think, for TLO, man. Look at these, most of these banelings just connecting with 1 Marine. 2 Marines even survived this, both medevacs survive. Let's take a look at the unit lost resource tab, and we can see that TLO has lost way more, way more. Considering the fact that a lot of Hellions died, he did lose way more in this engagement.
Yeah, that's a lot of gas. That is a lot of gas just traded off for pretty much minerals for the most part. The third command center now going down here for uThermal. He's doing okay because he's moving into a position where he's slowly encroaching in the middle of the map. And ideally, Dario, with these Mutalisks, would have liked to have kept his opponent pinned back, but it doesn't look pinned back at all.
And kind of an unfortunate moment for Dario to be supply blocked. He was out at 94-94 or 94-96 for a while. Had to queue up 5 Overlords at once. And this is going to allow uThermal to put on suppression, maybe clean up a couple of these creep tumors. Does not know yet about this hatchery in the left bottom side of the map.
And just splitting once again against these banelings. They do have centrifugal hooks. That was good splits. But in the end, the Mutalisks as well as Zerglings will overrun this position. uThermal's got to get away.
Yeah, it doesn't really have a whole lot of Marines. Third command center is very late for uThermal, not something we really pointed out yet. So this fight really has to go up. A couple of Marines were on move command, and Dario is actually going to be able to force these Marines to be picked up. 1 or 2 mines. Ooh.
He's getting a lot of the reinforcements actually that are moving on through here. Some Zerglings do die off, but Dario, if he'd have taken those fights even more favorably, could have just tried to chase back onto production, and that would have been a catastrophe for uThermal.
Still good though, because he's going up to 4 bases, pretty much uncontended up to this point, or it's completely uncontested. And he has map control. uThermal doesn't even have his third command center on location yet. I think Dario is pretty damn satisfied with how this is going. Doesn't mean that he's won this game already, because one good engagement for uThermal and everything can swing into his favor again. But so far so good. If we just take a look at uThermal's vision right now, that kind of tells the tale of this game.
Yeah.
Nothing, James. No eyes on the map whatsoever.
He's cornered. He is in a bit of a pickle. And the third base is going to fly on down towards and try and take that base now. But the Mutalisks have free reign over pretty much whatever they want to do. They can easily dive in, and that's a comfortable Zerg when they're diving into the main base.
You could probably pick up this missile turret if uThermal doesn't react immediately, but he does.
Yeah, good reaction times.
Wow, he shouldn't have been 0.1 second later, because then I think it would have died. But uThermal on the money when it comes to the minimap awareness so far.
And that army here for uThermal still powering on forwards. 2-2. It's very, very even between both players at the moment. And whoop, don't want to be losing too much to that. So it's only 1 Widowmine, of course. If it was a few bunched up there, you could lose a lot of those Mutalisks.
Well,
but
yeah, what was that sick game that we recently casted where that one Zerg?
I can't recall. Oh, but you're right. We had a cast recently.
Oh, Hero Marine Red, WCS.
Yes, it was. Yes. Those 3 Widowmines.
That was sick. Iron Fortress. Müller is still doing some serious work over here, picking up more and more SCVs, and I think Dario so far has done a pretty solid job, especially in just keeping uThermal on his side of the map. Whenever careful. Whenever a Zerg player can just keep Terran on their side of the map while going up to 4 bases, now even firing up the Hive, now if that's not a Hive of confidence, I don't know what is. You know, TLO is playing very fine so far. This is the very first time that uThermal is going to find this base in the left bottom side of the map as one medevac is floating over. There are 2 queens over there, and there's a spore crawler, so Dario should have more than enough time to get Lynx in position to take care of this.
Yep, shut down positions as well as those Mutalisks still continue on. They was able to contaminate the starport, slowing down any production from uThermal as the 5 Marines isn't going to cut it against those Mutalisks alone up to the top left-hand corner. These units aren't even unloading here, and he's going to lose the medevac with a lot of them in.
Man, Dario taking such a comfortable supply lead now in this phase in the game. Up 30 supply. I think the Hellion opening early on really just put uThermal behind, even though he got that pretty good fight towards the north side of the map where he just lost Marines against Banelings, Zerglings, and Mutalisks. But the opening up with 8 Hellions and just not really getting anything done, that hurts as a Terran player.
Oh, and he wasn't controlling the small force at the front here. He's going to lose everything. Oh, there's a lot of Banelings, yes, but this is a big, big force from TLO on the other side of the map. That one Thor stands between him and Oblivion, really, because in the end...
the SCVs!
The Banelings try and move him forward. He actually burrowed a few during all of that as well. Only one. If that had been 2, that could have been pretty bad for him. Oh, but he drops the scan, catches a few of them.
But still, great pickoff. So uThermal's pretty much forced to, I won't say float over his main base, but he's not going to do it. He's going to try to rebuild. But then he also knows that right now with this counter push, uThermal needs to do some serious magic. Otherwise, this game is going to completely spiral out of control.
Yeah, retreats on back, gets himself the Banelings morphing in and good to go. Extra Banelings have gone down as well here, as sees everything morphing in.
Good drop in the main base. There's really no units over here. Okay, actually the Zerglings and Mutalisks will come all the way back, which should allow uThermal to move forward a tiny bit. But Dario just has so much. He has creep spread, he has presence, he has units everywhere, and he should be able to clean this up with the overwhelming amount of Zerglings and Banelings that he has.
Lynx in the back soaking up the Widow Mines, and the entire army here of uThermal will melt away.
That's pretty much game, I think.
Yeah.
I don't see what uThermal can do against this.
Very difficult. Very difficult.
Look at all this Zerg just streaming through the north side of the map right now. Medevac being picked off, but uThermal knows it as well. GG is called. Dario takes a pretty convincing Game 1 victory and makes me look silly, James.
Well, if he's been practicing as much as people are saying they have been doing over in the Netherlands, then that was kind of the results of that. That looked really good there from Dario.
Yeah.
He never really let up in terms of control.
Can't fault Dario for a single thing other than maybe that fight against those 10-12 Marines, but at least he took the power out of that potential push and he bought a lot of time for himself. Other than that, a flawless game.
Very well done by Dario in game number 1. We are going to go to a short break, and when we're back, it's going to be game number 2 between uThermal and TLO. As we have game number 2 on the way for you very soon between TLO and uThermal. And as much as TLO always looked in control in that game, it's nowhere near out of the realms of possibility that uThermal could bring it back. With the quality of games that we've seen from him recently, he is shaping up to be, let's face it, one of Europe's best Terrans.
No, absolutely. It's just a single game. It's on Coda as well. He opened up very aggressive against a Zerg that loves 2-base Mutalisk as much as TLO does. Maybe not the smartest thing to do, because against a build like that, if uThermal would have just gone for, let's say, 4 Hellions into 3 command centers, I think he's going to have a much better time. Of course, those Mutas will still be annoying, but he's going to have an absolutely phenomenal economy to deal with. Right now, Dario is actually outmining him for the majority of the game, despite staying on 2 bases for a pretty long amount of time, then committing a lot to Mutalisk as soon as he hits tier 2, then goes up to 3 bases, uncontested, completely saturates the base, doesn't really lose any drones ever to a drop, then goes up to 4 bases, so at least he has that hatchery there as well, can take an extractor if he wants, can saturate it if he wants, and he has the production of it. So everything kind of went Dario's way. I think if looking at it, the second map is going to be Bridgehead. Hopefully it's going to give us a very nice macro game. I love Bridgehead, but uThermal has declined the lobby invitation. Maybe he's like, I didn't play Bridgehead. I love Bridgehead, man. I was actually so wrong. I've really been so wrong about a map. When Bridgehead got introduced, I was like, really, Blizzard? Like, double destructible rocks? You gotta be trolling me, right? Like, this is gonna be silly. All these games are gonna be stupid. But I couldn't have been any more wrong. Bridgehead is actually an awesome map, has provided us with some of the best games we've seen of a current map pool. And whenever I get Bridgehead on ladder, I enjoy it. I think in PvP, it's still a little crazy because Blink Stalkers can just be all over the place. But even then, like, I had a PvP the other day. I don't know why I'm talking about my own ladder experience over here, but we're waiting for game number 2. And I had a PvP that I've never seen before. There was a guy. I don't know where he's from. He's like P-Line something Pain or something. He's unknown, GM Protoss, but he's really good in PvP, at least for me. You know, for my level, he's really good. And he was attacking me on the north side with Blinkstalkers and on the south side. So with one army, I'm like defending with Robo, and the other one on Phoenix. And I've never played a game of StarCraft like that, where a guy is attacking me non-stop with 2 groups of Blinkstalkers, and that's all he had. It wasn't harass. It was full commitment. So I love Bridgehead. Love to watch it. Love to play it. Can't wait to this game.
Let's get into it. Game number 2 here. You're right. It's provided some fantastic games before for us. And we'll now get into TLO versus
Zenster Firecake Hype.
Best game of 2050. I loved that game. That was fantastic. Spawning to the right-hand side, we have our blue Zerg representing Team Liquid. It is TLO representing the Zergies. Okay for himself. 1 game up at the moment. And then to the left-hand side of this map, we have our red Terran representing AT Gaming. It is uThermal.
Now, maybe some people are watching this Intux Remasters broadcast and be like, well, what's so special about bridges then? I heard something about destructible rocks. There have been more maps with destructible rocks, right? Well, yes, but not with double destructible rocks, as Funka is showing us over here. And even that ramp into the main base is not your regular ramp. This is not a single force field ramp. And then you got those weird little destructible mini rocks over there. Like, it's just a crazy map. It plays out very different as well. We see a 14 pool opening over here for TLO. Maybe a little bit worried about something crazy that uThermal could potentially be planning. Proxies are popular in this map. Pretty much any sort of proxy. Haven't really seen a whole lot of 1111 or Proxy Reaper, but the other types of proxies, James, I've seen plenty of those, whether it's hatcheries, stargates, gateways, you know, all the good things in life.
Yeah, I'll always expect this map to produce some good games, as you know, recent occurrences have shown us. As for now, TLO is going to be taking his back natural, or the natural, if that's what you want to call it, regarding the base layouts, because it is that kind of pocket expansion. It is definitely very, very different to other maps, as you've highlighted. So, the wilder games, the more the merrier, man. The more the merrier.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I love a good old, very standard classic StarCraft game as well, where both players macro up, and then at the 9-10 minute mark, that's where TVZ can get very fun and very explosive. But every now and then to see something out of the ordinary, see someone think outside of the box, I think can be very entertaining and very fun too. And it's kind of what we need to keep the game fresh. And a map like Bridgehead will allow people to do those silly things.
Those Zerglings tried to sneak around
so
the left-hand side.
He's doing that so well.
Yeah.
Because right now it's kind of hard to say, you know, okay, I look at this opening if I'm uThermal. The only difference, of course, in this map, I'm not sure if that's a full wall up for uThermal. Yeah, okay, it is. Okay, I wasn't sure. It's kind of weird with the Rex, because it looks like there's quite a bit of area over there on the south side of the Rex, but that is a full wall up. So these links, they may be able to work on the supply depot, or maybe even go for the rocks, but they won't be able to just run into the main base, which is nice for uThermal, because let's not forget that the early game in the previous map against the Reaper was a little sloppy for TLO, but uThermal's defense against those Zerglings wasn't flawless either, especially not when he delayed that command center for a while.
That Reaper's movement was slightly impaired thanks to the positioning of the spawning pool. It didn't really want to go around the back of that mineral line, but this is a good bit of damage, actually. He is repairing this, so he will keep it alive for the Marines to be out.
SCV? Poor SCV.
Yeah.
Wrong side of the wall, Jon Snow.
No. Yeah, he's unfortunately, a poor little guy is done for. Spoiler alert. But anyway, for now, the Marines are going to be able to...
We're talking about the SCV, not about Jon Snow.
Yeah, of course,
no one knows what happens to Jon Snow.
No, not at all, not at all. Well, and switching things over as well with the factory, just to make sure that he is going to be able to pump those Hellions out and put them in a threatening position once again.
Yeah, and now Bridgehead has a lot of, like, it's very weird how Bridgehead works, right? Because you look at the main base and it's very thin and it gives you a narrow feeling, but at the same time it's a great map for drops, because if you look at the entire base from the main to the natural, that's a lot of surface area that you can drop. If Hellion starts cruising around there, things can get tricky. So it's really weird because it doesn't make any sense. On one hand it's very thin and it's hard to drop, and on the other hand there's so much surface area to drop, which once again makes it a unique map, but very fun.
Indeed, these Hellions just moving into assault position, but the Zerg here at this point only really has the one ramp to really kind of have to deal with, and that's why we're seeing this little kind of more funky wall off here at the front for TLO with the Baneling Nest and Spinecrawler. Not too often you see that at the top of a main ramp, but there you go. Just having a few more lings added so you can get those Banelings for the defense.
Yeah, Armory going down as well, so we may actually see some Hellbats. Maybe uThermal has picked up on the way that TLO played this previous game, and he's like, your Banelings, your initial Banelings were very late. You were just defending my 8 Hellions with Queens and Circlings, and you were capable of doing that because my Medevac took a lot of damage, and you know, overall it just all didn't really came together. But what if I start going for some Hellbats? And this immediately gives me a flashback to the way that Kalazur was able to win his series back then against TLO, the first one. Of course, TLO won the rematch in WCS, but you remember that? That was off the back of some relentless Hellbat aggression. And it's very difficult to deal with Hellbats if you don't have a Roach Warren. With Banelings, it's doable, but with just Zerglings, well, you need to be out of this world. Every now and then you see Zergs pull it off, and I was like, I have no idea how they just did that.
This is quite the strong army that uThermal's built up, actually. He's bringing a lot here to the front. Hasn't started working on the rocks, so it makes me think he's just going to try and slowly pick things up and get over there, but I don't think that's going to work. It should be shut down here by TLO.
I think he is. Like, you don't really want to kill rocks with Hellions. It just takes way too long. But TLO indeed has units in position. uThermal only dropped a couple of units. So you're right about the fact that it didn't work. It was his plan, though, all along to just elevate all these units in. But yeah, then that Medevac would have to work overtime.
Yeah. The front was on lockdown as well here for TLO. Actually, he rallied a drone towards the third base to try and plant down a hatchery, but because he's got a full wall off there, with the Spinecrawler acting like a gate in essence, he couldn't get out, unfortunately. But
there is a small drop in the back of the natural, though, because that Medevac went back and the units were a little bit out of position. But I think this is enough Hellions to take care of 2 Hellbats and a couple Marines. No, I underestimated the Hellbat. What am I thinking, James?
Oh.
It's never enough Zerglings to deal with 2 Hellbats.
No, Hellbats will just keep powering through and still survive. But that being said, those 2 Banelings did quite a lot of damage there. Reinforcements are coming also for uThermal at the front. Picks that one Hellbat up, gets it on out. These 2 Hellbats.
Oh, Dario's playing with fire, man. He's playing with fire.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That is too much fire, too much fire. 13 drones. Oh my god. Jinx. Anyway,
that was a pun, and I didn't even mean it, because I just thought he was like having a risky defense, and then suddenly I realized that was really clever, because he was indeed playing with fire.
Yeah, that was unfortunate there for TLO, because everything kind of looked good for the cleanup at the very beginning of that, but uThermal, it kind of goes back to, let's bring it back to your ladder experience. You know, 2 of those armies attacking at really odd angles. It's not too often as TLO in these kind of positions that you get drawn that thin.
Raise the wall! He has to raise the wall immediately. TLO probably wants to put Zerglings on top of that depot, so he's able to go in immediately, picks off 1 turret. At least uThermal didn't underreact, but oh my god, no stim! No stim! Wow, didn't raise the wall.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a catastrophe there for uThermal, because in the end, comes off the end of a supply depot, really.
Yep, if he raises that depot, maybe he can keep the missile turret alive, and then that 1 turret will push the Mutalisk away. Maybe he's going to end up losing a few SCVs, but no more than that. But with all those Zerglings in his base, of course, the downside of opening up with so many Hellions and Hellbats is that your Marine production kicks in a little bit later, so you don't have a whole lot. That's why you just throw all those. Calling it desperation turrets is not fair, because it's just part of how that build plays out. You always see that, you know, turret mineral line, turret on production, and he's like, you know what, I'll get another turret in front of the ramp because this is a weird map, but didn't raise the depot, and then once Zerglings are on top of it, it's just too late. You can't raise it anymore.
Yeah, threatening the stim, like, he always knew it was going to die in that situation, and that was that, really. So good job by TLO.
Wow, I was so wrong.
Yeah, he moves on. Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
It happens.
At least your boy gets another chance.
Yeah, but now only 1 Dutchie can make it out. I was still hoping for the Dutch sweep over here. Hey, and let's give a shout out to TLO for improving his record against uThermal to 4-0 in best of 3s, 8-1 in maps. Dario, I'm very impressed.
Impressive stuff. Let's hear from the man himself. Moving on, it is TLO over at the desk.
Thank you very much, Caloris from Rotterdam. TLO was listening to everything you said there, and he had a giggle or two about it.
Wrong again, Kevin.
Congratulations, mate, on going through into group stages now. A very, very solid performance here in the open bracket. I don't know what your personal thoughts were, but everyone, especially the P-Drogo game, because everyone looked at that and was like, well, I'm not too sure if TLO can actually win that, but you really did, swipe clean the open bracket today.
Well, I thought I have a good chance against him, but then when I saw him today, I thought I have a really good chance because he seemed very tired. I saw him like lying down on the couch, being very sleepy, and I was like, okay, a weekend Drogo, very doable.
And then what do you think about uThermal coming up here then? About that match?
I feel against uThermal, I kind of just played him as a player. I knew his play style and then countered what he was going to do. My builds were not necessarily the most ideal builds against standard, but when you know how he plays, you can abuse it a little bit.
I actually had a question. For that first game, it felt like you took a little bit of extra damage maybe than was necessary from the first Reapers, and it felt like you were on the back foot a little bit there. Was there a point where you felt maybe a little bit panicked when those Hellions were kind of roaming about, the drop was poking in and out? How did you kind of stay in control mentally there?
At the start, maybe I was a little bit nervous, but nowadays I don't get as nervous anymore and get my composure back. And I definitely felt I was behind, but I knew I can make up for it if he makes a mistake or two. And he didn't do as much as he could have with his Hellions later on. He started losing a lot of Hellions, having those two in the corner there and everything. So it worked out pretty well. And catching the drop going out, even though it didn't look like it was necessarily the best trade, but it took away kind of the potential for him to do damage on my side of the map. So I was quite happy about that.
I was going to ask you about that actually. So that's, I was looking at that as well. We're thinking this trade's not that great, but spot on. You kind of kept him in his corner and it took him a very long time to get his third down. And from there you seemed to dictate the pace very well.
Yeah.
Going into that second game, now I was thinking, TLO's been showing us some rushes to Mutalisk sometimes before Zergling speed, but I really liked the way you opened up Gasless there. Is that specifically because of Bridgehead? And was that a map that you'd do against any Terran player, or was it special for uThermal?
No, that was special because I knew he was going to play Reaper, which is unusual in Bridgehead. So I felt if I actually didn't work out the way I wanted to, I thought I can kill the reactor actually in time, but it was just a little bit too late, and the scouting SCV coming back messed it up because it pushed away one of my links and started repairing. So I feel if it doesn't come, like if there's not the scouting SCV, I can kill the reactor, and then it's just a really good position from there. But in general, 14 pool is not that bad against a Reaper opening where you have a back base. You can't be so annoyed by the fact that you don't have as much creep at the front, so it doesn't really matter as much, and you don't risk losing anything.
Yeah, and Mutas before Zergling speed, you love getting the Mutas out. Is it just something you like doing in ZVT in general, just getting that map control very fast, and because there's only one entrance on Bridgehead, you feel safe with the Spine Crawler?
Well, I've just been a big fan of Hydra when he came to Europe and kind of did a lot of two-base Muta. It's a playstyle that I like because you can really play up to very high potential. Like in very few games, you're satisfied with what you've done after, because there's always more creep you can spread, more map control you can take in macro. It's a very multitasking heavy build, and it's very, very hard to execute perfectly, but if you have a very good game, it's extremely powerful, and I just enjoy playing that.
All right, fantastic. Very well done.
Yeah, well done, TLO. A couple of more broader questions now. So, I mean, not everybody knows exactly what you guys have been up to in the Team Liquid house recently, but you've been training. Talk to us a little bit about what you've done over this last week. Who was there? What you actually did for this past week?
So, a couple of days before ASUS RG in Helsinki, we went to Utrecht, and there was Bunny, Harstem as our special guest, because sadly Mana couldn't make it.
Needed someone to speak Dutch, I guess.
Well, we needed a Protoss most of all. The guy you can insult again and again while practicing. And, so Harstem was there, and Bunny, Snoot, and Red and me. And well, we've basically just spent time playing StarCraft all day.
How many games are you kind of building up each day?
I think I averaged around 35. Snoot and Red were like closer to like 40 to 45.
How many hours is that?
I don't know. I'd say like 8 hours, 9 hours a day, but very focused and a lot of talking about the games as well. Harstem helped me a lot out by improving my CVP and telling me how to beat Drogo as well. And Snoot is always great to have in the team. He always gives so much information to everybody. He's kind of the scientist of Team Liquid. he always uses SC2 gears to its like full potential.
Yeah.
He like it's crazy when he uses because he also uses all the hotkeys and tabbing through it, and he always knows how to find the replays of the people of every tournament, and then tells you, okay, he's gonna do this and that, and then helps you, kind of play against that person. So he's an extremely valuable asset to have in a team house.
Is this something you'd like to see more of and continue doing as Team Liquid? Because I don't know really how many you've done of these past. I don't think you've done that many, right?
Well, we've not done this before in this way ever.
Yeah.
Some of us were in Korea together in the past,
Right.
but we never had a boot camp within Europe. And yeah, I'd love to do it again, especially at the start of Legacy.
Yeah.
Because if we can get all our
everyone
heads together, we can really get ahead by sharing information as a team and having 5 brains, 6 brains working together and figuring out what is imbalance, because there's going to be a lot of things imbalanced at the start.
Yeah.
And we need to use it as much as we can to get those early victories before the Koreans come in.
Take everything else away. Well, there you go. That's kind of the start of a proper European pro gaming house there.
But it's also not just for StarCraft. So it's basically an apartment next to the TL office, and there's going to be Counter-Strike people coming in,
Right.
Heroes players coming in. So we're going to try to use it as much as possible for every single team.
Rotation between Team Liquid.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
Right, awesome. Good to know a little bit more about that. Thank you very much, TLO, and congratulations on going through to group stages, and hopefully you kick some ass there as well.
Thank you.
All right, that does it now for the winner bracket final in Open Bracket 2. We'll be continuing through the lower bracket now, as we still need to find another player to join TLO through to the group stages. Before we go to the quick commercial break, I'm going to remind you again, check out plays.tv for all the highlights. If you want to see how TLO's been playing today, go there, check out his games, and see exactly how he managed to beat the people that he did. We'll be right back with the Open Bracket, lower bracket.